Get the little, okay. So, our next speaker is Alex LaSalle. He is a native New Yorker who resides in the Bronx. He started his own YouTube channel earlier this year called Lounge with LaSalle that is doing really well and touches base on everything from pop culture interviews with other creatives in art and current events. He works in healthcare at New York Presbyterian Well Cornell, and we're excited to have Alex LaSalle. Hey, Alex.
Hey guys,
How
how
are
are
you?
you? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Today's a good day, and
Good.
it's beautiful outside, so that helps with everything, you know.
It always does. So aside from being this phenomenal person that I know and my cousin, we wanted to have you on in the summit, a safe space to discuss loss in COVID. Recently, Alex lost his father due to the coronavirus. And so we just want you to feel comfortable to share, tell us what we can do for those who have lost. Sometimes people don't need others on top of them. Sometimes people do need, others on top of them. And so we just want to go through your journey with you without being evasive, without not doing too much, but not doing enough. So tell us a little bit about what you've been recently going through and what you've been feeling and how it's been for you.
Yeah, for sure. I want to say first off just two things. One is thank you, Crystal, for enhancing the culture, keeping alive what you love and what so many people as creatives love to have, which is an outlet to discuss and be transparent about so many different topics and current events and things of the sort. So, it reaffirms why I'm like so obsessed with you. And it also reaffirms why, it's so important to like continue to do what you believe is true and what's just for so many people who don't have the platform that you have and that you've allowed many others to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to start off with that. And secondly, I just want to give my utmost condolences and support to the entire Black community, especially with everything that's going around right now with George Floyd and so many other people who lost their lives to police brutality and to racism. That's like added on to the anxiety of the crisis I know we're all going through collectively, whether it be in education, whether it be being a Black Latina, whether it is losing someone due to COVID-19. So I just wanted to say to all my people of color, to my brothers and my sisters who are of darker skin tones, I support you, I back you guys up, and I'm thoroughly excited to see hopefully a change happen and progress come into the world because we need it now more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So in regards to loss in COVID, it's something I'm learning to deal with every single day. No day is like the day before. I'm not the same person I was going on 2 months ago when my dad did pass away due to this. So I'm having moments, especially like I love the rain. I love, gray weather. I love, soft music. And so, I have like all these little triggers now. So when I know it's going to rain, it's like I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also a little apprehensive to like not now be around people. So it's like I feel like those days it's important for me to like indulge in a group setting and be around people who I know are supportive and who are not going to judge me because I'm having a little bit of a moment or I need to step away for a quick second because I'm, feeling really emotional. So it's honestly it's day by day, and it's so hard to like wrap it into words so that it makes sense because I'm still trying to make sense of it myself. But it's just a really unfortunate situation, especially because, I mean, not that it makes it any better, but when you have a family member or a friend or so on and so forth, who you can at least sort of prep yourself for, what's to come, it does sort of help with, with the ball. Whereas when something like this happens and, especially working in healthcare and seeing people pass away from this every single day, it's different when it hits your immediate family, when it hits, a parent, the one person that I've known my entire life is now no longer here, which is something that day by day is something that I'm learning to adjust to. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there, but you know, trying to be positive now in every aspect of the word. I'm excited to see what the future has. Um, I'm trying my best not to stay like in a negative place, because then I know that will like totally eat me up, and I'll never truly see the grass is green on the other side. So, you know, I say that to anyone who's dealing with this and anyone who's lost anyone now just due to, you know, what's going on in the world, and just, you know, people who are dying of natural causes such as, you know, cardiac arrest, and, you know, so many other causes. You know, it's something, it's just hard to, it's hard to, you know, put a point on it. It's just, it's a realization you really don't want to realize until it happens. So, you know, I'm feeling good today, and I'm thankful to God for, you know, giving me strength every single day as I go on. And, you know, I know that there's so many people who can sometimes go down the wrong path and end up going down and becoming alcoholics or drug addicts or so on and so forth. I'm happy that I'm actually, you know, joining the other side, the other path, and doing things that continue to elevate me and hang around people who enrich me, and, you know, staying steadfast when it comes to my health and my well-being, and making sure that now when I'm at work, I'm being a little bit more courteous and cautious than I was before. I've always been someone who's been super kind to people and who understands people's health is something so, you know, people
Health
get
is
really,
wealth.
health is wealth, excuse me. So, you know, it's opened up my eyes a lot to just be a little bit more soft when I'm walking past people. Because even when my dad passed, it was, you know, going out days after to just run errands or pick things up to start packing. I just, you know, at times would look at people in a way I've never looked at them. Just, you know, some people may look so calm, they may look happy, but internally, you don't really know what anyone's really going through. So I think it's, you know, it's also just being a little bit more courteous to people right now. Because, you know, not too many people are outspoken when it comes to loss. I even have had friends who I haven't really heard much from during this experience, because it's also an unsettling uh, conversation to have, and they don't know how to deal with death, especially if it's not someone who's passed in their own camp. So, you know, you just, it's an eye opener across the board. It's an eye opener across the board.
And then it's like on top of that, for you, it makes it even that much harder because you work in the healthcare industry. So now you're dealing with it at home on a personal level, and then you're dealing with it on a professional level. How is,
Hmm.
I guess, the climate of things or the scheme of things for you now that you're back at work?
It's different. It's, you know, I've been, this is, I'm gonna go on into like my fourth week back at work this upcoming week. My first 2 weeks, I came back pretty strong, and I came back super mellow, and I came back trying to, you know, be the same Alex I was before. But I mean, it's just crazy how people who've been around you for so many years can instantly that is see a change, because, you know, you're not the same person. So many people are like, man, Alex, you know, crack a joke or make us all smile, or, you know, like you're not, you know, just being you. And it's so hard to be in that environment where, you know, people are literally fighting for their lives. You know, I always say no one is walking to a hospital because they just don't have anything to do. They're doing it because, you know, their well-being is at stake, and they're trying their best to do their own due diligence to make sure that they're surviving the following day for their loved ones, which is, you know, something not too many people take to heart. So it's a tough environment. It's a thick scenery to be in, especially with so many restrictions due to COVID-19, and with women not being able to have their partners in the rooms with them while they're giving birth, with not having, you know, the access to visit your family member who's in ICU, may not have that long to live. It's, you know, it's a everyday battle that you deal with, that sometimes, in regards to this week that just passed, I couldn't find it in myself to put on clothes to get to work, you know, like to put on my gear to head to the battle. I just, you know, I was just at a point where I just was so broken that all I can do was send an email to my supervisors to let them know that this isn't a good day for me. And I'm thankful that I have a support system at work as well who understand what I'm going through, who they've been courteous and understanding that, I am dealing with something so big that I never thought I would be dealing with or even be speaking about. So that's when reality starts to set back into that I'm dealing with something bigger than I am, and that, I'm trying not to let get the best of me. So it's a tough environment. I'm thankful that coming in July, I'll be transitioning from working with patients who are sick to dealing with the labor and delivery side, and seeing, births happen, and see just people coming for a happy reason, even though, they're in pain and screaming and need epidurals. It's something that I'm looking forward to, because doing the death certificates at the hospital for the past 4 years, doing the fetal demises for the last 4 years, it's a place right now that's not so easy for me to go back to,
It's
because
better
it's a
to deal with birth than death. At
for
this
sure.
point, it probably is a bit more refreshing for you.
Yes, and it's a constant. It was a decision that I had to make for my well-being. That it just wasn't something that I could really give my all. When I'm at work, I like to make sure that I'm investing all that I am, because if I am dedicating 8 hours of my day, so many days a week, it's important for me to make sure that I'm as, in the best that I can be. So, it's something that right now, with speaking with management, they know that it's not what I'm actually looking to do. So I'm looking forward to doing something now at work that's more enriching for myself,
Alex, quick question. So, knowing you personally, how, your personality is very, vibrant. You're pretty much you're a positive person that, for the most part. When you find that you're having those days where it's just like, I literally cannot, like, what are some words of encouragement you can give someone who also is struggling with a loss, whether it be a sibling, a parent, a child?
Mm-hmm.
What is some words of encouragement you feel you can give and on those type of days?
In whatever religious aspect that you believe, seek that. That's been
And there's power in prayer, right? When you pray, you find you're self-centered, you find your relationship with God, you can build stronger. There's a soothingness to that real quiet place. Sometimes it's a lot of noise that's going on, and sometimes when you pray and you find that sense of peace, that even when you're in the midst of the craziness, you can feel the calm, because you know that he's with you. You know that he's guiding you. You know that he's there. And definitely God has been with all of us, because being in this environment is not, it's like, I don't want to get like so spiritual, but it's like almost demonic, like to be around all of this craziness that's going on, whether it is police brutality, whether it is this mechanism or organism or whatever it is that's invading people's bodies, and from one day to the next, someone that was healthy is now gone. And so there's just this way that there's no way out of it unless you have some type of, in my opinion anyway, and it's not me imposing my religious beliefs on anyone else, but having a relationship with a higher being and knowing that he's gonna guide you, he's gonna, throw your burdens onto him. Because there is no other way of finding solace for a lot of us other than saying that this is beyond my control, beyond my power, but I know that something else is happening that he would take care of.
Right. Which what Crystal said. But pretty much, I mean, honestly, I think, that sums it up. I think there's a peace and a solitude in quietness, and in reaching for like a higher power, something like bigger than you are, because you realize like how, even like when you go to vacation and you're in like such a beautiful scene, and you realize how small you are in such a beautiful backdrop, and how big the world is. That I would say, these women who are in the back right here, my niece, my sister, my mom, they've all been really great. So family's huge, especially when you lose someone so close to you. Investing in the people who really do matter, and not to say like friends don't and colleagues don't, because everyone holds a really special place in your life, and you're attracted to whoever you keep around in some shape, form, or fashion. That's why you keep them around. But my family's been fantastic, and honestly, like, I've been going to the market and buying flowers and keeping them here. That makes me a lot happier now to see them blossom, to get that little fresh scent come in. Walking, I think walking clears your mind. A good playlist. I'm totally into music, so putting on a good playlist, listening to some Beyonce, listening to some Mark Anthony, listening to all the things that put a smile on my face when I hear it, are the things that I'm starting to do now. Walking my dog for such long amount of time, and also sort of getting my work in at the same time. So without me even realizing it, I'm tackling two things at once. So I would honestly say to anyone who's experiencing any sort of loss, even if it's not death, if it may be like the loss of a job, or the loss of a friendship, or what have you, it's just trying to find things that make you happy. And if that's having a drink at the end of the day, enjoy it. Make it a stiff one. If it's going out and doing something you've never done before, do that too. It's the honestly, you realize with death, there's a whole life to still live, and that life does continue. So it's to take the bull by the horns and really do something great with it. Instead of wasting it, make it the best life you can make it.
What are some things that like you feel, because like like you said, with death, obviously a lot of sadness, but then in the flip side to that, like what are some things that you want to do that maybe your father loved to do and didn't get a chance to do, that you want to do in his honor? Or like maybe a food that he loved, something that he loved to cook, you never used to do it, now you're going to do it because it's something that helps you keep his memory alive. Like, do you have anything?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was telling Crystal today, there was another opportunity that fell in my lap to volunteer at a place in the Bronx with a good friend of mine, Sammy, and my friend Tisha, and Sammy's wife, Sarah. And they invited me to go help give out essentials and food and water. And, my dad being a civil servant, my dad was a retired police officer at the time of his expiration. I know that's something that he had always done, which was give back to his community. So that's something that like now I want to do now more than ever, is just to give back. I feel like that's also going to help me. It's probably like some like Western philosophy theory attached to it, but when you do good, it helps you feel good. So I feel like I definitely want to invest in that, because my dad was a huge family man, a huge giver. If you needed anything, if he had it, it was yours. So I want to continue to be that person as well. That I think that's super huge for me. And honestly, spending more time with family is like, has to be like super, super, super important. Like still staying connected with, his side of the family, which is now a weird thing to put into words, how now not having him around, and he was sort of my go-to person for like the LaSalle family, is just sort of keeping his memory alive and doing things that I know he would have wanted me to do, and do them the right way. So just maybe making a little bit more conscious decisions than I did before, but definitely volunteering. Community service is something I really, really would love to do. And I think I think we, in times like this as well, it's like, we got to think about like either like pull up or shut up, and if we're going to be, on social media, if we're going to be having discussions with friends and coworkers, it's to really put forth the effort to make that happen and to help someone else who needs it, and I think we're all firm believers of karma, and we know that karma comes back tenfold. And I think if you do well, more blessings are going to come your way. So definitely investing into my community and helping out in any way that I can, even if it's not on a broad spectrum, even if I can, help Crystal, watch The Boys one day, or, help you, Melissa, with, one of your dance classes, or, something that, will be beneficial to someone else in some way. I'm game. Yeah.
what do you feel like, because like you said, you got closer to family, and not that friends weren't important, but, just put things into different perspective for you. So like as a person who has your ups and your highs, your downs and your lows, what do you feel like another person or like people in the community should do for someone who has experienced loss? Like what is something that we could do, because we don't want to burden you too much, but we don't want to just stay away and you're like, I haven't even heard from so and so, do they even care? Because like you said earlier, some people don't know how to deal with loss, so they just stay away, which is not really good either, because if that person's on your mind, you're like, damn, I haven't heard from them.
Right.
So being that you've kind of you went through it, but you're still going through that process of mourning, how do you feel like the rest of the community should kind of tackle helping someone in loss?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm receiving love in all of this, because it's something that I've never been through before, other than like losing grandparents or losing friends due to like, horrible causes, or people in the community because of police brutality. It's hard. I mean, I would honestly say keeping up with people, keeping up with whoever, has lost someone, every now and then, and just even sending I'm thinking about you, even in that, when I get those messages, gives me a little bit of comfort to know like, okay, cool. Like, that I'm on this person's mind, and I have a great friend of mine, her name's Anna Baez, and she's like the sweetest woman and like who walks the planet. And she called me the other day, and she's like, I'm just checking up on you. I love you. And she's like, I want to send you some grub hugs. She's like, what are you in the mood for? Just like random, like in the afternoon. And it's little things like that, just to know that like you have such a support system and people who really care for you and who are invested in you and your health and well-being. That's like something to really like big someone up for, because we get lost sometimes in like all the things that are going on and all the things we want to do, and sometimes we forget to like really ask someone like, how are you doing? Like, how are you feeling? Like, how is your your support base? How's your immediate, your extended family doing? So I think just being courteous, of course, to like specific remarks or comments when around someone who's lost someone, because anything can trigger them, because they're at such an emotional unbalanced place that they can go off the deep end really quick if they're not mentally stable enough. And I think just be kind. I think being kind goes a long way, and just every now and then checking up on that person and letting them know that if they if and when they're ready to speak or spend some time with you, that you're available to do so. And I think just that alone goes a long way. I don't think there's much that you can do, because the reality of the fact is that, the person they're mourning isn't coming back. And that's a harsh reality. But the truth of the matter is that, sometimes it's a thought that I go into so that it kind of wakes me up out of like my emotional state. And I realize that this is a part of life. When one person exits, another person is entering. So it's just the circle of life. It's the way that the world works. And it's a really sad, unfortunate reality to sit in. But being an adult and being someone who, for the most part, and what I believe my own mental state to be is the best that it can be at the moment, I have to also not beat myself up to the extreme, but know that this is a part of the way that the world works. So just be courteous and be courteous to everyone, and be sensitive, and that I think is the way to approach someone who has lost somebody, and especially now to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crisis on top of a crisis. Even when I was in Florida, dealing with all this with my family, not being able to have that physical touch from family members and speaking to them from across yards, leaves you with such a thought looking back on it that's so unpleasant because of this virus. So, realize too, especially now in the moment that we're all dealing with, it's bigger than us. It's bigger than anyone could have ever imagined it to be. So, so to anyone who's giving birth to a baby now, or to anyone who's losing anyone now, it's probably the worst time for that to happen, because you're not naturally doing what we know to do is when you see a baby be born is to kiss that baby and pass the baby around to all the family members and have these big showers and parties, first birthday parties. That's now obsolete. That can't happen because, you know, we got to make sure that whoever we still have, we're keeping them safe and healthy to, you know, for the years to come. And then, you know, for someone who's passed away now, it changes the entire spectrum of how we know how to lay someone to rest. You know, the funeral services are different, the burials are different, the communication is different with everyone. The restrictions are different. You know, sometimes it's hard to think about all that if you're not going through it. But, you know, someone now who's been through it and is going through it, it's so much more complex than I could have ever imagined for it to be. So, you know, dealing with this, it just opens up your eyes to how intense and how bigger this situation is than I could have ever imagined. It's a really sad time. So yeah, courtesy and love and smiles and check-ins and all of that. You know, the things that we normally know how to do to put a smile on each other's faces, what we have to keep doing to, you know, see a brighter day. And hopefully that, you know, this all passes and we can look back on it and learn from even from what Sarah was saying, you know, learn how what the new normal is going to be with education, with me, you know, the new normal with losing someone and how to, you know, gauge the gap, you know, in the future with how things are going to change. It's something new for everyone, and it's a day by day sort of thing.
So Shirley had a question. She said, should people be offended if you, as the person who is experiencing loss, if you don't respond back to them immediately?
I don't think people should be offended. I think people should be a little bit more aware that, you know, this person may be having like a really hard day and maybe they're not eating, maybe they're just not up to speaking, and, you know, maybe they just want to sit in their emotion and be sad, and that's okay because that's how you see a better hour, that's how you see a better minute going forward. So, but I think it's just continuing to follow up. I mean, obviously I know people have their ways of not wanting to like badger someone, but I think follow up is obviously we all know communication is key and follow up is essential with anything. So I think following up and just, you know, even checking in with the people that they may be really super close to and just saying, hey, by the way, you know, I reached out to Melissa, I just wanted to know if she's okay, just give me, you know, I think, you know, this is the time to sort of use your resources too and reach out to other people that, you know, they may have a stronger bond with and that they may feel a little bit more comfortable with talking to. So it's about, you know, using your resources, using your best judgment. But I don't think people should take offense to it. And also realize too, just the flood of calls, the flood of emails, the flood of text messages you're getting from so many different, you know, establishments and identities, you know, in regards to closing up accounts and closing up homes and, you know, even just friends reaching out to you. Sometimes it's easy to miss a text message in a moment like this. It's easy to miss an email because your mind is so scrambled. You know, it's like eggs over easy when they're like overcooked and the yolk doesn't come out no more. It's like, damn. Yeah, it's like one of those, you know.
Your sister gave a good comment. Ruth LaSalle is on, and that was obviously her dad too. So her comment to add on is she is someone who writes everything down and she sets reminders every week to follow up with people. That way she still gives them the space, and maybe a text is better in the beginning stages of their loss. So, you know, getting advice from someone like her who has lost her dad is good for us because we know, okay, let's catch up with them, give them a couple of days, send a text, you know, not get offended, like you said, and just, you know, we're all navigating through this. So it's like walking on eggshells, but not getting offended and trying not to offend the person who has lost as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that's good. I mean, my sister Ruthie's always been like that. She's always been someone to like write things down, and she's super just organized, and she likes to do things by the book, whereas I'm probably like the polar opposite. But I've learned a lot from her in this experience, just with how important it is to be a little bit more organized, a little bit more clear, a little bit more transparent, because it does help the process go a little bit smoother, especially if you're in a situation that might be a little bit more complex, and that there's so many different like flavors and tones to it. So if you are doing your part with like keeping everything in order, it helps the process go a little bit better than just just working with mess on mess on mess. So I think that was a really good point for sure.
Kima, she mentioned her boyfriend's dad passed away on Easter due to COVID. Sorry about that. And they still haven't been able to cremate him since it has been so backed up. She said they believe they finally decided to send his body to a state that had less loss, so he could be cremated. We have not been able to have a service yet because of the delay. Funeral usually serves as a part of the closure aspect, and no one has that. And it's made this a lot more traumatic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know someone who lost their mother, and they had a funeral, and it had to be 10 people. And it's just like, at that point, how do you pick? I mean, if you're in a family where there's like 4 siblings, or but what if it's just you, the mom, the dad? Like, how do you pick what family members come?
Yeah.
Like, that's tough.
It's literally a revolving door. For my dad's service, we had to comply with the CDC, comply with the funeral home and how the state of Florida was running funeral arrangements due to COVID. So, we did have to comply with a 10-person in the service, and also associating it with social distancing. And then, when 10 were done, we would transfer another 10 in. So it was literally like a shift. I mean, it was, I didn't get like a 15 or like a meal break. It was, you had to make sure that, you're also allowing everyone else who love that person. You want to make sure that you're giving them the opportunity to feel like they have a moment of clarity and a moment of saying goodbye in whatever way that is, with everything that's going on. You're trying to be as courteous as you can be to everyone, because my, in regards to my dad, he lived to 62, and he's met so many people in his 62 years, and he had so many kids, and so and so many family members. My dad was one of 18, so all my aunts, all my uncles, all my cousins, making sure that everyone who has spent time with him and who knew him and relied on him had that opportunity. It's just, it was something I had never seen before myself. So to actually be sort of hosting it, I was learning as I went, and so were the people who were running the service with us, as far as the funeral home, workers. It was a weird situation, super different. I'm so used to going to like the Ortiz funeral home up in Washington Heights, and that's a very much crowded funeral home, and everyone's running from room to room, and outside. And this was very, they had a point person to make sure that the count was correct in the room, and that, people were in their cars, and, we live streamed it, so that people did have the opportunity to view it if they couldn't attend. So it's just sort of, I guess, working with what options you have, just to make it somewhat of a pleasurable experience, as hard as it is not. You try to make it as sweet as it can be. So, but like I mentioned earlier, this is like the worst time for anyone to lose someone, because you don't get to properly do it the way you would normally do it. And that in itself takes a big chunk of your energy, of your morale, of your thinking process. So you learn, I gotta say though too, I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm taking notes as far as what I've learned from COVID, and especially being at work too, like I mentioned, just being a little bit more courteous to when people walk past me, what they might be going through, maybe their daughter, maybe there was a patient who lost both her mother and her father due to this, within a week's time. So it's like, just to think, to lose 2 parents, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, I'd be up in Bellevue right now, the psychiatric ward getting checked in. So, it tests your faith, it tests your strength, and anything that you thought was clarity, it tests your sanity, honestly. So, I just, would want to tell anyone, just be strong, and try and be happy. Try to keep that person's memory alive as best as you can, whether it be a parent, a child, a cousin, a friend, a neighbor. Think about them, smile when you think about them. I still hear my dad's voice in my head, which gives me so much comfort. And just riding the wave the best that I can with the surfboard that I have at the moment,
With like a lot of the times, again, I can't even imagine what you're feeling, but in a time like this, it's like, maybe it may be hard. Like, what if you and your sister are having the same exact day, and in that aspect, all you guys can do for each other is like mourn together, and maybe you're like, what, I need, like, this is not working for me today. I need to speak to someone. Like, how do you feel about like looking for like further help? Like, because maybe a family member is not helping you at the time, not because they don't want to help you or they can't. You guys are going through the same thing. So how do you feel about like speaking further?
Well, I'm glad you brought up that question, because actually yesterday, Friday, I took it upon myself to follow through with seeing a therapist at my job. And that was really good. It was like a hard day in the afternoon when I did it. But I was happy that I did do it, because it's like getting someone else's perspective who doesn't know you and doesn't have any emotional attachment to you, kind of helps give clarity in the situations that you're weak-minded in. So I even when I came out to my family, I saw a therapist from years ago, just to sort of navigate the gap between like my religion and who I feel I was and am, and then how my family's going to take it, which in itself is a whole beast. But if it wasn't for that experience, it wouldn't have given me much push to do it now again, because I knew that it's important for me, and especially because of where I work. I knew that, like, in order for me to like make it to work every day, it was important that I seek some help. And I make it my business now. My mom would always tell me, Alex, get checked up, go get your eyes checked, go get your teeth checked. And it's like I've gotten better throughout the years to make sure I'm keeping up, I'm maintaining the tempo that I have. And I've been, now I'm seeking out this help from a professional, and it's refreshing. It's scary because you're like investing a big part of like your emotional state to someone you don't know, but you don't realize how good it feels after you do it. And it was nice. And it's even better when I guess they're all trained to know what they're doing. So, but it's nice when someone isn't putting their 2 cents in where you feel they shouldn't, and when someone's being super kind to you in a moment where you're breaking down and you're crying. And I've had other family members seek out therapists, so it's something that I've been aware of from other people's experience and how good that's helped them. So I knew that if I did that, it would help me, especially being here in New York alone at the moment, because my immediate family is elsewhere. So it's sort of being alone kind of pushes you to find solace in other people, while until you have your army back with you.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
I feel like especially like in the Black and Brown community, therapy is just kind of like something that's just not frowned upon, but a lot of people don't do it, and if they are doing, they're not talking about it. So I'm happy that you're
right.
talking.
And I've also told, I've had a few coworkers of mine, and I've had a few coworkers of mine who've lost their parents to this, and I've also lost a coworker to this. So it's something that a coworker of mine has now sought medication to sort of alleviate some of the anxiety and stress that he's going through. And obviously I think we're all pretty much apprehensive, if not need be, to take medication, because you never know the aftermath of what may happen to you if you start to rely on it. But you know, him telling me his experience about how that's helped him and how he feels a little bit more on a plane level rather than so much going on. It kind of opens up my eyes to be open to, you know, medication if necessary. So I'm also trying to just think about, you know, other options and other, you know, things that may help me in the future if I'm not doing as well as I'm doing today. So I think, you know, for anyone who is going through this and who may be apprehensive to medication or seeking a therapist, I think you should really try your best to invest in what's best for you, because no one is going to care for you the way that you care for yourself. And, you know, you have to be your best fan. You have to be your best supporter. You know, every time you look in the mirror, you have to basically say, you know, I'm the baddest. I got this. Today's going to be a good day. Let's put something on. You know, let's rock out and let's make this the best that it can. So I would say to anyone going through this, you know, feel that for yourself. And, you know, if you need to seek help and you need to speak to someone, you have a new friend in me. You have someone who, you know, is more than happy and willing to speak to anyone to hopefully maybe enrich their experience and what they're going through. Because it's been helping me. I actually went to a barbecue for a friend the other day, and just in random conversation, one of the girls I was speaking with found out that she lost her dad 8 months ago in the Dominican Republic. He died from cardiac arrest. And, you know, when I told her I just lost my dad, she couldn't believe that I was even at the function, because, you know, it took her months to sort of navigate back into reality with friends and family. And so, you know, it was just nice to share that camaraderie with someone I never knew before, never seen her and had never heard her name. So, you know, I think it's being transparent with people that you don't know, because, you know, truthfully, the only way that we are all going to get to know each other and be blessings in each other's lives are speaking our truth and, you know, and allowing who you are and what you do, like Sarah being an educator, allowing that, you know, facet of her life and, you know, into ours to give us, you know, clarity and to give us examples and you know, different resources to navigate education. You know, there's so many other ways you can do that with loss and COVID as well, with, you know, the medication, with seeking out therapists and having a good foundation with family and friends. So, you know, just know that there are resources out there. That's what I would really want to tell someone.
So, you know, the loss is something that you'll never get over, right? It's always going to be
Right.
there. Like you said, you grew up with this person and now you're never going to see them again. And we know that that void can never be filled, but moving forward in a positive way, what are things, or how do you look forward to now rebuilding your life in a different way, now knowing that dad's not there, but how you move forward in a positive way? Like, we know you're going to have negative days, you're going to have negative moments, and you've given us feedback on what we could do as a community for you, for others that we know.
Right.
But where do you see Alex in the next couple of months? Like, are you resuming your tour with Beyonce? Like, are you gonna
Well,
like, how soon are you gonna be back on tour? Like,
that's at the top of the list. That's at the top of the list. You know, I'm just trying to make sure the bag is right. You know what I'm saying? Now, honestly, I definitely, I know my dad was really, really juiced up and happy for me when I started Lounge on LaSalle. And so that's definitely something I had definitely at one point in time would have wanted him to be a part of. And it's so sad now that that can be, but continuing to do that in his memory for me is huge. And just being more myself, you know, because it's like Crystal being like a mentor to me, you know, is you know, she always gives me like tidbits about like, you know, how different it is when you're on camera and then when you're just like chilling with friends. So just being more free, more myself. And definitely like I'm hoping that my relationship with God continues to grow and relying on that, because that's huge for me. And I grew up in knowing the word, and my mom and my family like instilling that to me. So sort of like entering into that space where like, you know, going to worship and like having that peace every now and then I know is going to be beneficial for me. It's maintaining the friends that I have now who have been, I mean, absolutely positively, they've shown up and shown out. And I'm super thankful for that, because you realize in times like this, is even if it's not lost, but when you're going through a turmoil, you truly realize who's there for you and who isn't, and who really shows up and literally kicks down the door to make sure that you're okay. And I think it's me appreciating those people and investing my energy and time into them, because I want them to know that I appreciate them. And it's I'm hoping a few more pounds down. With all the stress and everything that I've been through, I lost 14 pounds. So that to me was like, great, because it's like, I didn't have to, do much running or, hiking. So, hopefully maintaining that and going about it in the right way. And honestly, just like, because the saying that I've heard my entire life, when you go through something hard, is just take it day by day. So that to me is like a huge thing in my life right now. Just, Alex, take it day by day. Like, I can't really worry too much about tomorrow, next week, this and that. But I'm just taking it day by day. And like I said, today's a good day, and God is good nonetheless, and the world is good nonetheless, no matter what's going through. This conversation is good and it's positive, and it's helping and it's clarity. So honestly, it's just doing things that I know are going to be beneficial for me. And something like this is beneficial for me because it's sort of my therapy for the day without having to use my health insurance. So, boom shakalaka, baby. No
Shirley
copay.
wants to know when you're going to be back in the studio. She texted.
I'm hoping to be there today. I've done a lot of talking, so I got to rest my vocals later. But back in the studio with Puff, and I'll let you guys know when the album's gonna drop, and we'll figure it out.
Well, we really want to thank you. We totally appreciate you sharing. It's not easy to share something so intimate, and we're recording this for Lounge with LaSalle so that you can use this to help others and keep it moving. So we really want to thank you for being a part of this for the Black Latina Summit.